Morning, ladies and gentlemen. A lot has been said about the events of Tuesday afternoon going into Tuesday night. And I think it's important just to recap and provide a perspective from our side as to how we believe the Parliament broke down. And I would say the primary persons who I would hold responsible for that are the Speaker, first of all, and the leader of government business. And I'll indicate why. The Speaker exercised a lot of latitude in allowing Minister Tufton to give a statement which exceeded the normal time that is provided for a minister. So he exercised his discretion there. But immediately after doing that, he then said he's going to invoke the standing orders for the response from the spokesman. He, in fact, did exercise some discretion and allowed the spokesman to speak for more than the required 5 minutes. But the standing orders provide for each and every member of Parliament to ask a question related to a statement from the minister. The Speaker then tried to restrict members of Parliament, and he first of all said he would only take questions from 3 members of Parliament, which is a breach of the standing orders. He then said he would allow an additional 4, so it became 7 members of Parliament who he would take questions for. He wanted each member of Parliament to ask the questions up front and then the minister to answer after. We objected to that because the questions which were asked by the opposition spokesman, Dayton Campbell, and others were never ever addressed or answered by the minister. Now, what made the Parliament break down is when Minister Samuda introduced a motion to suspend the questions that were being asked by the opposition. And then a lengthy debate ensued on that motion. There was no need, and the only reason he introduced that motion, and he has said it publicly, was to try to protect the minister from the questions that were being asked. Now, the Parliament is the place in which, as representatives, we are sent to ask questions on behalf of the Jamaican people, questions which we believe are pertinent to good governance. And this is not the first time that we have an issue with questions that are asked and routinely ignored. In January 2017, I tabled questions to the Prime Minister of Jamaica related to the award of a telecoms license to Carousel. Those questions fell off the order paper in March of 2017. I retabled the questions in April of 2017. They were never answered. They fell off the order paper in March 2018. Those questions have never been answered. Now let me remind you and the public of what the issues are. The Contractor General recommended to the government that licenses not be awarded to Carousel. The government ignored those recommendations, went ahead and awarded the licenses nonetheless. After the US government intervened and revoked visas of persons close to the company, the government decided that it would move to revoke the licenses awarded to Carousel. Carousel took some court action to prevent that. Just a couple weeks ago, we have heard that the government has revoked the licenses. Now, that entire episode, there has been an absence of transparency as to what the factors are that would have led the government to act. And because the questions that we tabled have not been answered, the public will never know. And there are implications for the country. There are implications for our telecoms industry. There are implications for national security. There are implications for our relationships with our overseas partners. Now, that's just one example. In the Senate, Lambert Brown has had questions on the number of advisors and consultants. Those questions have not been answered. So we are experiencing a routine practice of this government, simply ignoring questions, facilitated by the Speaker, who is the presiding officer, who should insist that those questions are being answered. And what took place on Tuesday, in our view, was just a deliberate attempt to divert attention from the critical issues affecting Cornwall Regional Hospital and to protect the minister from answering those questions. We are going to be vigilant as an opposition. We are going to ensure that the matters of national importance, which the country needs to hear on, we will ensure that those questions are put on the table, either orally or in writing, and importantly, the chairmanship of parliamentary committees, an issue which arose again where the then acting House leader wanted to act in a way which would have reversed the convention that had been established by then Prime Minister Bruce Gordon, where opposition members of Parliament would chair critical committees of Parliament. So what we are seeing, quite frankly, is an attempt to whittle away at democratic traditions which have been established both by convention and by the rules of Parliament, and really just a disregard for parliamentary procedure by this government to protect itself from being accountable to the people of Jamaica. The People's National Party is going to stand firm in protecting the interests of the Jamaican people against what we view as these breaches. Thank you. We are now going to be on to questions to anybody.